People who became successful after the age of 40. Part 6. Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela's name is synonymous with freedom, resilience, and reconciliation. Yet, the man who would later become South Africa's first black president spent much of his life as a prisoner and political outcast. His greatest success, leading a nation from apartheid to democracy, came after the age of 70. Mandela's life story demonstrates that even decades of silence and suffering cannot extinguish the flame of destiny. Early life and education. Nelson Mandela was born on July 18, 1918, in the village of Mvezo in the Transkei region of South Africa. He was a member of the Thembu royal family, though his upbringing was modest. As a child, Mandela was deeply influenced by African traditions of leadership, which emphasized responsibility to the community. He attended missionary schools, where he developed a love for learning, and later studied law at the University of Fort Hare and the University of Witwatersrand. During these years, Mandela became politically aware of the injustices of racial segregation in South Africa. Political activism and early struggles. In the 1940s, Mandela joined the African National Congress, ANC, and co-founded its Youth League. He believed in active resistance to apartheid, the legal system that stripped black South Africans of basic rights under white minority rule. By the 1950s, Mandela was leading protests, strikes, and campaigns for equality. However, the government responded with repression. Mandela was arrested multiple times, banned from public gatherings, and put on trial for treason. When peaceful protests were met with violence, including the Sharpeville massacre of 1960, Mandela shifted toward armed resistance as a last resort. In 1962, Mandela was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment for sabotage and conspiracy against the government. He was 44 years old when he entered prison. Many thought it was the end of his story. The prison years preparing for leadership. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, mostly on Robben Island. Life there was harsh, hard labor in a lime quarry, minimal food, and almost no contact with the outside world. Yet Mandela refused to be broken. He studied, exercised daily, and mentored younger prisoners. He also worked to maintain discipline and dignity among his fellow inmates. Mandela became a symbol of resistance, not because he was free, but because he refused to surrender his humanity. Inside prison, Mandela mastered patience, self-control, and negotiation. His long years in confinement became a training ground for the leadership he would one day need. Freedom after 70, the turning point. In the 1980s, international pressure against apartheid grew. Protests, economic sanctions, and global condemnation mounted. The South African government realized it could not sustain apartheid forever. On February 11, 1990, at the age of 71, Nelson Mandela was released from prison. The moment was historic. As he walked out hand in hand with his wife, Winnie, the world saw not a broken man, but a leader ready to guide his country. Mandela immediately began negotiating with President F.W. de Klerk to dismantle apartheid. His commitment to reconciliation rather than revenge surprised many. Instead of calling for war, Mandela called for peace. He believed South Africa's survival depended on unity. President of a new South Africa. In 1994, at the age of 75, Nelson Mandela was elected as South Africa's first black president in the country's first fully democratic elections. Millions of South Africans of all races cast their votes, many for the first time in their lives. Mandela's presidency focused on healing a divided nation. He created the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which allowed victims of apartheid to tell their stories and perpetrators to confess their crimes. His leadership style emphasized forgiveness and building bridges between communities. He also worked to improve housing, healthcare, and education for black South Africans who had been excluded for generations. Mandela only served one term, stepping down in 1999 at the age of 81, but his impact was profound. Global icon in later years. After leaving office, Mandela continued to promote peace, human rights, and HIV/AIDS awareness. He became a global moral authority admired by leaders across the world. His humility, dignity, and refusal to cling to power made him a rare figure in politics. Mandela passed away on December 5, 2013, at the age of 95. His funeral drew leaders and citizens from every corner of the globe, a testament to his universal legacy. The lesson of Mandela's life. Mandela's success came not in his youth, but in his later years. He was 71 when released from prison, 75 when he became president, and well into his 80s when he became a global symbol of peace. His story teaches us that delay is not denial. Years of waiting can prepare a person for their greatest moment. Mandela turned suffering into wisdom, anger into forgiveness, and imprisonment into preparation. His life proves that even if the world forgets you for decades, destiny has a way of finding you. Conclusion. Nelson Mandela's journey from prisoner to president is one of the most powerful stories of perseverance in history. He reached the height of his influence after the age of 70, reminding us that greatness is not limited by age. His life tells us this truth. Even if you have lost years, even if life has been unfair, your best chapter may still be ahead. Kindly subscribe for more.